Hello, Mr. Barnett here. In this video, we're going to talk about inequalities. We've been dealing with equations for a few weeks now. It's time to move on to inequalities. That's usually the next step in algebra. Inequalities are very similar to equations, except they're not equal to something. Okay, so in an equation, you have like x equals 1. In an inequality, you're going to have x is greater than 1. Okay, it's not going to have an equal sign. And basic inequalities that you all need to remember, which I know you've seen before, like 6 is less than 7, 7 is less than 8, 8 is greater than 4. You've seen those before. But in algebra, you have these 4 symbols. X is greater than 1. That's how you read that. X is less than 1. That's how you read that. X is greater than or equal to 1. Notice you have the greater than sign, and then you have a little line under it. That's all you have to do to write that. So that stands for x is greater than or equal to 1. And then you have x is less than or equal to 1. So it's a less than sign with a little line under it, okay? That means x can be, to make this a true statement, x can be 1, okay? It can be 0. It can be -1. It has to be a number that is equal to or less than 1. And this one, it has to be a number bigger than 1. So it can't be 1. That wouldn't be true, right? If x is greater than 1 and you chose 1 as your x, that would not be a true statement. It would have to be something bigger than 1. Some of the cool things that you're going to see here is in learning these, you really have to remember one rule. You have to remember these symbols, and you have to remember how we solved one-step and two-step equations because it's the same stuff, okay? So first, let's look at a basic inequality problem. And that would be like 2x is greater than 4, okay? I want to remind you that if we had 2x is equal to 4, I would ask you to solve for x. You always do the opposite of what's happening to x. So you would divide by 2, and you would get x equals 2. It is the exact same steps for an inequality, okay? So you're multiplying x by 2, divide by 2. X is going to be greater than 2. Easy peasy, okay? It's the same idea. But here comes the part where there's a special rule, okay? If you had negative 2x divided by 4, or greater than 4, I'm sorry, negative 2x is greater than 4, you would divide by -2 on both sides. All right, in an inequality problem, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the sign in the middle. Okay, so we'd follow our same steps. -2 divided by -2 cancels out. You would bring down your x. Instead of just bringing that down like you normally do, when it's a division or multiplication by a negative number, you flip it like that. So instead of it being greater than, now it's less than. 4 divided by -2 would be -2. Okay? So your rule that you need to remember is when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you need to flip the sign. Very important. Okay? And so you need to remember these 4 things: greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. You need to remember this step. Okay? So let's do a couple practice problems. And so we could have something like x minus 1 is greater than 6. Okay? We could have x plus 3 is less than 4. We could have x over 2 is greater than 5. And then we could have -3x is greater than 18. Okay, we could have all those type of problems. These are one-step inequalities. Same idea as equations. X minus 1 is greater than 6. All you do is have to add 1 on both sides, and you get x is greater than 6 plus 1, which is 7. Okay, there's your statement. X plus 3 is less than 4. Okay, so you just subtract by 3 on both sides, like you normally would. X is less than 4 minus 3 would be 1. X is less than 1, okay? And then here, x divided by 2 is greater than 5. You need to do the opposite, so we need to multiply by 2. So x would be greater than 5 times 2, which is 10, okay? And yes, my handwriting is horrible, and sometimes that can look like a 7, so always try to make sure you're doing a good job on that. And then finally, we have one of our negative numbers over here. -3x is greater than 18. Divide by -3. That gives you x. Flip your sign. 18 divided by -3 would be -6. Okay? That's all there is to one-step inequalities. In our next video, we'll go over two-step inequalities, which are very similar two-step equations. And then we'll learn how to graph these things. We'll learn how to graph equations and inequalities. So I'm looking forward to that. If you have any questions in the meantime, as always, feel free to contact me. And thank you for watching the video.